Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do something a bit different. I'm going to do dot mandala. Dotting is extremely relaxing for me, and we had a stressful weekend here, so I need to de-stress and try to relax. So, to show you what we're going to be working on today, I say we, but I mean me. I'm going to do a tiny little dot mandala. This one did some time ago, and it's been brushed over with varnish, so it's nice and shiny and can be easily wiped down if someone uses it as a coaster. Water wouldn't discolor it or smear it or anything. And it's just a plain little thin wooden coaster that you can buy in packages of 100 or 50 on Amazon. I don't know what store I got them from, but I think there are numerous stores that sell them on Amazon. Better yet, anything that you can get locally in your crafts shops or privately owned businesses, I would highly recommend you purchase from local stores if you can. So that's what we'll be doing, something similar to this. Now I've already painted them black in advance because I don't think anyone needs to see me paint black on acrylic paint on a coaster. And I've got grid lines. Now the grid lines, to find your center, it's easy to just put a cross, and the cross section is where the dot goes. And you can get these also from Amazon, and you put them on once you found your center, and then you're able to, I'm using a charcoal white, you're able to just mark the lines through there, and it comes out all nice and pretty. So the other thing you can do is with a square coaster, you can then just, hang on here, I'm doing this video for beginners, so you can just line from corner to corner and again from corner to corner, and that gives you the center dot. Now I have done a lot of dot mandalas. The ones that I do, I don't use anyone else's design. I may occasionally get an idea just from looking at others, but I do my own. The colors I'll be using today are just plain old acrylic white. I'll be using Deco Art Silver Morning. I'll be using Deco Art Country Maple. And I'll be using Deco Art Bright Yellow. Now, you can use as many colors as you want. I find it looks better when you start in one color and then carry that color forward throughout the piece. You know, the silver here, silver, silver, silver. It kind of just brings it all together like it was meant to be. Now, I do have this little gadget. This again is a tiny little turntable that allows me to work on smaller pieces without having to put down my dotting tool and move the piece all together. Now, when you're working on a larger canvas, that's an issue. Smaller ones, not so much. I've shown you my protractor, and this is just out of a cheap school algebra kit, and it allows you to draw these circles around there if you don't have the templates. Dotting tools are meant for nail dotting. If you know anyone who does manicures or goes for manicures, they've probably seen these. And they come in all different sizes. Now I've numbered them my own numbering system. The other half I'll have the same size, which I've given a number 2. Number 3. And the tiniest is a 1. So I use these for the smaller bits. And then what I use for the larger are crochet needles. Crochet hooks, I guess they're called. They are all marked, the millimeters. And I use the square end, not the hook. And they come, when you buy a kit, they come in tiny ones. They start at a 3.0 millimeter and go all the way to a 10. And that's what you get in a set. And I also, when I need these really big dots in the middle of a larger project, I'll use the 16 millimeter. Again, it's a crochet hook. I found it in with my grandmother's craft supplies when I inherited her crafts. So today we won't need that 16 millimeter for the center, but I do like a large enough center that I can double dip. What I mean by that is I initially did the white dot, and then I went back in with a smaller sized hook and used the pink or magenta. And then again, when that dried, I added again a silver, and I could just keep adding and adding to it. There's some double dipping here. I like to do, the more double dipping I can do, the happier I am, and I find it adds a lot to the piece. And what I do for dipping is I just use the lids. So let's start with a really big dot on this one and make this video go a little faster. I tried making one yesterday, but I was making a really large piece and I wasn't thinking straight. Back to that high stress weekend we had. There. So I eyeballed that and centered it as best as I could. And then when I'm done, I just take a rag. It works best with a damp rag, but oh well. That's where I start. And then I'm going to use the 3 and go around that dot. I'm going to use these lines as a guide. And I try to get as close to that dot in the center as I can. And because I used the forget what it's called now, a stencil, these should be exactly the right distance between them. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way, and you have to kind of fudge it. So now I've got enough space to get between each of those dots, so I'm going to do that. This is not an exact science. There are times when we plan to have everything all perfect and it just doesn't work. So there's different ways to fudge it so that it'll appear to be all even. And once that we start adding many layers to this is when you won't notice anything like this little dot being so much smaller and closer to the ones between it. Alright, so I'm done with the white for now, and I like this yellow in the center. I'm going to try not to get off camera. My equipment isn't great. I'm just using a cell phone. So now with this yellow, I'm going to try to get between each dot. Actually, the 6 is too big. Let me change that to the 4. And I've written these just in marker. There's, I don't even know if they actually have sizes on them, but certainly not written where I can see them. I will dip into my paint with every dot. It seems like a lot, but it enables me then to have dots of the same size. Again, this row of yellow dots is not perfect. They are way closer here than they are here. I'm not worried about that right now. Nobody will know. When we're finished, it will just appear all exactly the same. Now, still with the yellow, I think I'm going to do something quite a lot bigger. This is the 3.5. I seem to go to the 4.5 more frequently. Now what I do is I just dip the tip in there, and I like to have like a bubble of paint on the tip of that. And I am just going to go right in the middle of my lines that I've drawn on. Again, dipping with every drop of paint. Trying to keep them uniform. Now, it's at this point that it starts to be important to have the spacing correct. And it will hide any previous rows for sure. So there, already we can't see the imperfections in the white or the tiny yellow. It's covered. So, all right, moving on. I want to bring the white back in with this yellow before I go to other colors. And I'm going to use the 4. And these are going to be running dots, is what they're called. And the idea is that you have a big dot at the top and they get gradually smaller. I will dot the center one again before going down the other side. It doesn't matter if you have 4 here or 3 or 5, it doesn't matter as long as we have the shape kind of like it's hugging this yellow dot. And it is okay to double dip. Maybe not with potato chips, but definitely with mandala. I did so many of these before the Christmas markets, just this past Christmas, that I kept selling out, which is a good thing. Certainly not complaining about that. But I put them away, and I'm just pulling them out now, and it's June 1st today. I love June where we live. We are in northern Alberta, and right now the sun is only setting after 11 at night, and every day we see a difference with the sun. And by the last week of June, the sun will barely set at all. It will, about midnight, it starts to get dusk, and it stays quite light all night, but certainly you need headlights to drive, that sort of thing. All right, back to dot mandalas here. Now I'm going to go in with some silver against that white. All right, and I'll use the 6 this time. Last was the 4, I think. So you'll see that the 6 makes a dot quite a lot larger. There. Now we'll bring in the country maple, stir it up a little. I don't think I've ever used this one. All right, so that last one was a 6. I think I'm going to go again with the 6. some point you may hear my dog scratching at the door, wanting to come and see who I'm talking to. He's not locked up in the closet. I'm locked up in the room, in my little art room. I was hoping to pour resin as well today, so I can't have him in here. He just sheds like crazy right now. I say right now, he sheds all the time, all year round. These white lines that are on this coaster, I can just go with a regular a white eraser. This one's from Staples, but you can get these white ones anywhere. They work great. The other thing you can use is those gum erasers. They're really nice for this. All right, now what? I'm thinking more yellow. Oops. Oh, sorry, I'm using the 5.0 millimeter. Alrighty. Alright, I will start with the 3. That's not 3 millimeter, that's just the number 3 that I have assigned this tiny dotting tool. In the comments, if you could let me know anything that you would like to see that isn't just flooded all over YouTube. I do tat, both needle tatting and shuttle tat. If that's what you want to learn, or at least just see a demo of it, I can do bobbin lace. That's cool if you've never seen that done. It's like you're using fine thread and wooden bobbins. Most small projects use about 40 small bobbins. I also knit lace, and I know how to crochet. What else do I do? Well, certainly the alcohol ink on ceramic tiles, or alcohol ink on Yupo paper, and then I make greeting cards out of them. Now you can see I'm not right on that line. That's just a factor of trying to line this up rather than the drawn line. The original dots that weren't exactly centered. This is what's now fixing that. There's a lady in India who does this with a paintbrush. And one of those squeeze things that you would put on decorative icing on a cake. It's really cool. I've tried with the small paintbrush and it was a mess. Alrighty. Back to the 5. I chose this tiny little project so that the video would not be too long. Funny, when I work farmers markets to sell my art, I usually have at least a few young girls and some boys sitting at my table asking questions about this, and then I just give them some scrap paper and let them go at it with my ink and my dotting tools and teach them. Kids love this. Alrighty. Now I will go back to the silver. And the number 6. Oh, hang on. I have to plug you in. Sorry for the motion. There. All right. I find that doing these lines just totally class up the project. So the idea is get a lot of ink, not ink, a lot of paint on your stylus. Hold it down so some of the ink drops onto, and then just drag it. And I find it real difficult to go this way and up. So then I'll start up here, do the same, There. And they're not connecting, and I don't care. That's just fine with me. All right, now I'm going to use, I think I'll bring the white back in here. Oh, this is getting real gummy. If you want to dot dishes, I've done a lot of teapots and coffee mugs and serving trays, lots of serving trays for Christmas. If you're doing something that will need to be washed after using, like a mug, I would suggest that you use all-purpose ink, and then it gets baked in the oven to set the paint. And of course you have to wait till the paint is perfectly dry, so a few days before you give it the heat in the oven. And it goes in the oven at 400 for 20 minutes, and then it stays in the oven after you've turned off the oven. You let it cool, and then when it's cooled off, you can pull it out. And then I let it sit again for a good while. And then you can use your dishes to eat off of, or you can drink your coffee or your tea. And hand wash, of course. You can't put stuff that's dotted into the dishwasher, but it's fine for hot and cold drinks. And then you just wash them by hand. Soap is not a problem at that point. All right, now to do a little double dotting here, I think I will, the paint's not completely dry, but I don't want to waste any video time. Just going to put a little white dab there on top of the yellow here. I'm not even pushing down on it, I'm just letting the paint drip onto the dot. If you made a mistake and something's not lined up exactly right, chances are no one's going to see that. I wouldn't worry about it at all. Oh, that was my pins. Oh yes, also I can do a macrame demo if anyone wants. Now yellow, let's take a smaller, size 5. Oh, again, this is hard. I do have some actual little cups that are just tiny that I use when I'm working on a big project. I will use it to put my ink in, and then I can just close the lid between applications. But to do this little project, I just don't bother. And if you don't like a color, like I'm not at all liking this maple color, double dotting really saves the day for those things, because now it'll barely show. There. That's better. And what about the middle? Oh, here they are. I was wondering where my tools went. I think in the middle I'm going to put yellow, and then I'll dot it again with the silver. To have some fun with yellow. There's a saying amongst daughters, not D-A-U-G-H-T-E-R-S, daughters, D-O-T-T-E-D. If you're not sure if you should add more dots, then you should add more dots. You can't have too many dots. All right, this one could be a bit bigger. Also to know, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier on, forgive me if I'm repeating myself. When you dot, you want to see that dot just like, and then it comes up to a point. It flattens out on its own, but that's how you know that you've got the right consistency. The paint is the right consistency, and you're putting enough paint on the dotting tool. All right. I'm going to leave this one as is. I'm quite happy with it. Oh, I did say I was going to put another silver dot in the middle. Now this may make a mess because it's still very wet, but I'm going to try anyway. Huh, that's different. Now we've got an eyeball. Better do these. Tie it all in together. So you can follow me at Instagram, Annette Duguay-Bruce, or check out my Etsy store, and the shop name is Art by Annette Canada. I believe there's an Art by Annette in the US, but because it wouldn't accept it unless I added Canada to the back of it. I would love it if you left some comments about what you think or any questions about this whole process. I will be putting up some of my favorite dot mandalas that I have done. And let me know if there's something else you'd like to learn. in the meantime. And please be nice. That's all I ask. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up, let me know you're there. Have a great week, everybody, and stay safe and stay healthy.